It's another edition of Region Football Weekly here in our Centier Bank studios. I'm Jack Theo alongside me, Mike DeWan. Really getting into the thick of it. Obviously, if you've seen our show the past couple of weeks, we go over our bubble teams, our top 10 teams, and then our games to watch. A lot of movement and a lot of teams that have similar records, but this week could really determine how our rankings look for the rest of the year. We have a lot of great matchups, a lot of matchups that intertwine with our top 10 and our bubble teams. And with that being said, it's time to get started. You guys want to know who it is. And our first bubble team making their way back after an impressive win, the Lowell Red Devils, 2-3 now on the year. They beat Highland 41-12. It was Brody Kolinsky, really his first true game under center for the sophomore. He went 5 of 6 with 50 passing yards and a score. But also what really meant more for Lowell was the return of Colton Scott. He did not play last week's game. He comes back this week, 116 rushing yards and 2 scores. You know, he's really been the vocal point for this Lowell offense this year, although Lowell's probably not where they want to be. But, you know, the true bright spot is that their junior running back has really led this offense to a win against Highland, a chance to bounce back against Hobart, you know, a very close loss, 21-14. Hobart's had their number. They've won 5 of the last 6 meetings. But, you know, for Lowell, when you play a team like Hobart, that's kind of the game you want to have to kind of, you know, get the wheel turning.
Yeah, that's going to be a fun game. We're happy to be a part of it. We're going to be covering that. We'll get into that later. But we know Lowell, they've always been a pretty run-dominant team. And to have Colton Scott back in action, that's a big plus for them. And going into that game against Highland, it was kind of a toss-up. We know that Highland at least is a more talented team than years past, and Lowell is kind of on the downside of that. But now we know we could never count Lowell out, and they're back. They're back. They found that Brody Kowlinski, again, a sophomore going under center, and he had a solid day against Highland. So it's
not easy.
They're a young team, and they're kind of finding pieces for the future as well as the present, and we'll see where they go from here against a solid Hobart team.
Yeah, definitely a lot of potential on their offensive side of things. Like we said, they play Hobart. That is one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. It will be a video broadcast, of course, at Hobart. Number 14, the Wheeler Bearcats, 2-3 on the year. A massive win. They beat one of our top 10 teams, the Boone Grove Wolves, 28-20. Hey, we talk about Boone Grove being, you know, the aerial attack, you know, that West Coast offense. Well, you know, Wheeler said we can do the same thing. And it was Kayla Kimzak, the junior quarterback, 20-23 with 387 yards, 4 scores, and his receiver, the junior Bryce Compton, 10 yards, 10 catches, I should say, 250 yards, and 2 scores. How do you beat a team that does the passing game so well? You do it better than them.
There you go.
That's what they did. A big game against Westside. It's the first meeting between these two teams. And, you know, we'll kind of talk about this throughout the show because we have multiple bubble teams in this race. It's a 3-horse race for the top of the GSSC South. You know, you have Griffith, you have Gary Westside, and, of course, the team we're talking about right now in Wheeler.
Yeah, it's a slippery slope in that in this bubble right now with who we have in the GSSC. That South is up for grabs. Yeah, of course, we always talk about Hanover and what they did just in that conference as a whole. But Wheeler, yeah, they've hung in the games a lot this year, and they're really a sleeper team that couldn't quite get on our bubble, but we have to give them their flowers, especially after beating a team that was, I think, ranked 7 on our list. And, of course, it's tough to out-throw Boone Grove from what we've seen so far, and they did just that. Again, shout-out to Klimzak and straight out of Compton, Bryce Compton, both juniors, and they're a young team. They're gonna be looking, again, not solid for this year, but they're gonna be looking for the future, and that's a tandem that could be pretty scary in the GSSC come next year even. So
how long were you thinking of that one?
Once I saw Compton and the light bulb went off. So
man,
I'm trying to get like you, man. You're pretty good with the puns, but again, Westside, again going to that 3-horse race. It's going to be tough. It's interesting. Wheeler, again, I hate kind of using the transitive property, kind of drop some math on you, but Wheeler they beat Boone Grove, and Boone Grove beat Westside. Yeah. So, you know, we're going to talk about that game a little bit later, but it's who knows? Again, we talk about how crazy this conference is. It's almost like the MAC in a way. We discussed it last week where anybody can beat anybody. So props to Wheeler, and we'll see what they do next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Boone Grove was one of those teams that was hard to beat just because of how well their offense played. Yeah, but, you know, for Wheeler, it's a really great win for them, and maybe they're the offensive attack we should be talking about going forward. We'll see. Number 13, a really tough loss for them. They were our number 10 team, the Andrean 59ers. They lost to Hobart 27-24. What's really tough is it was homecoming, a home game, and they blew a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. They really could not close that game out. The passing game was solid, at least for Scotty Ballantyne, the senior quarterback, 272 passing yards and two total touchdowns. Congrats to him as well, as he passes the 4,000 passing yard mark. So once again, congratulations to Scotty. They had 3 receivers over 74 yards. Although those are impressive stats, to lose that type of game at homecoming, how big those games can get at home, that was a rival, in your conference. That would have been such a huge momentum for them, just because if they win that game, they're 3-0 in their conference.
Right.
They're not 2-3, they're 3-2.
Sounds a lot better.
Yeah, after starting the season 0-2, they had the chance to win their next 3 games, go 3-2, and you really felt good about themselves, especially since this is an Andrean team that's going through a huge rebuild, just because with the amount of talent they lost last year.
Right.
If they could have got that win against Hobart, I think that could have really just elevated, I wouldn't say the play, but really elevated, the Andrean 59ers in terms of proving people wrong. But like I said, a lot of people, including us, said, is this the down year for them? They lost Drake Bowen.
Right.
They lost a couple of kids to the transfer portal. Mm-hmm. But for them to bounce back after losing the first 2 games and win the next 3, they would have had a lot of us being quiet. But,
for sure.
A tough loss for them, and I know they're going to go back to the film room, but they got to, they got to have the mind of the goldfish, like we said before. They've got Highland at Highland. They haven't lost to them since 2015, so it is a great opportunity for them to bounce back, though.
Yeah, for sure. Again, it's a tough loss. Again, props to Hobart. We'll get into them later for that comeback. But when you're trying to close out a game, when you're up by 10 points late in the fourth, you kind of need a run game to kind of chew that clock. And
well, yeah, you were there,
right?
So kind of take us through that end of the fourth quarter where that 10-point lead was starting to get a little slimmer and slimmer.
Yeah, I mean there was about 6 minutes left. Andrean had a huge touchdown. Go check out our news package if you want the full game recap, voiced by yours truly and shot by yours truly. But instead of plugging all that, it's you need a run game to chew the clock, and that was kind of Andrean's weakness. Mm-hmm. I think this year, again, the passing attack led by Scotty Ballantyne, a couple receivers, Jimmy Finley, the All-State DB, who's now a receiver as well, and he made some unreal catches. And Ballantyne did some work with his legs, which is kind of out of his comfort zone. But, Ellis Dumas, he had a score. He was kind of the running back for the night, but he only had 2.9 yards per carry. So Hobart did their job at bottling them up, and then on that drive to kind of close it out with, I'd say, under 3 minutes left, Andrean did get a first down, but then got stopped on the next set of downs, and Hobart went down the field, scored with under a minute left, and the rest was history. So we'll see what they do against Highland. I think, again, that's a very favorable contest. Going on the road isn't fun, but you kind of want them to kind of work on the run game a little bit. Highland has given up a lot of rushing yards over this conference play in last few games, so that kind of adds a whole other element to their offense, to their passing attack that's already very, very well organized.
Do you think Andrean might have played a little too conservative at the end, trying to just waste the clock, not really trying to run their offense, but trying to get the clock down to 0, get out of there with a win? Do you think that was the case, or was it just because the Hobart defense was doing their homework and they were really blowing up the line?
Yeah, I think I think it's all credit to Hobart there. Yeah. Andrean did what they tried kind of have to do in that situation. You're trying to run the ball. You're trying to kill off 40 seconds per play. Get the clock as close to 0 as you can, and you kind of almost got to expect to punt it away, but you got to try and milk that clock as much as possible. And Andrean picked up a couple first downs on that last drive, but just couldn't close it out. And I think they had a 3rd and long before they punted it. Nice pass breakup, I think, an incompletion, and again, the rest is history. So they had it in their grasp. Losing a 10-point lead in the fourth, and arguably one of your biggest conference rivals is a heartbreaker. But Andrean, we're not going to drop them that far. That's a great Hobart team, and again, I think they could bounce back this week.
I think a lot of people expected Hobart to win that game, but not really be that close as it was. I think a lot of people.
I will say this: that was my one correct. I had a score differential too, right on the nose. So I'm tooting my own horn again, but yeah, they showed us a lot. I think
even though it's a loss, I think people came out impressed by Andrean.
Yeah,
how they played. So I think even though it's a loss, a lot of people were left impressed with, their effort and they're resilient to really, be in that game and almost win that game.
And shout out to their DBs, too. They did a great job against a Hobart passing attack. That's pretty solid. They bottled up T.J. Caldwell pretty well. He had a touchdown that cut the lead to 3 on that second-to-last drive for Hobart, but they did a great job, that defensive secondary. Run game, that's something they got to work on for next week probably. Willie Shearer had a great day that we'll talk about when we talk about Hobart. But yeah, that's all I got.
Absolutely. Well, our 12th bubble team is the Westside Cougars. We kind of talked about them a little bit earlier in the show. 3-2. They beat Whiting 72-27. They've scored 38 points in all but one game this year. Really balanced offensive attack. It was their quarterback Giuseppe Moore Jr. 6 for 6 with 173 yards and 3 touchdowns. So other than delivering pizzas, he was delivering touchdowns. Did you ever hear Giuseppe's Pizza?
That's a very good pie.
Yeah, so if you ever heard of that place, I had to find my joke in there since you had the
That's not bad. Hey, we got a lot of show left. So
but nevertheless, they had 5 ball carriers with over 5 carries last week, and everyone scored and at least averaged 10.2 yards per carry. That's a recipe for success. They have Wheeler. It's battle for first place in the division, but for Westside, this is an offense. We aren't maybe really talked about as much as other teams. But it's definitely an offense that we might have to start talking about just because the fact that they've been able to put over 38 points in all but one game is impressive.
Yeah, that's why we have this bubble. We highlight the teams that, we're the voice of the voiceless, they say. We highlight the teams that, again, maybe not have the greatest of records or might be in, a lesser conference. But, again, teams like Westside, Wheeler, and, again, our 11 team that we'll talk about in a little bit. But they're teams that are putting up numbers over their respective competition. And, again, Westside's a team to really look out for in terms of who's going to win this division. That 3-horse race is going to be very exciting come these next few weeks. And Wheeler, that's going to be a great game. Again, I think we're going to talk about that a little bit later. But that's kind of a prove-it game for both sides to see where they stand. And Westside, their first season in the GSSC, and see if they can make a name for themselves with this game.
Yeah, one team won via the passing attack, and one team won via the running attack last week.
Everyone's got different methods to the madness, they say.
So we'll see. So our final bubble team just outside the top 10, the Griffith Panthers, 2-3 on the year, 2-0 in their conference. A big win against River Forest, 21-20. They're now the only 2-0 team against the entire conference. Stopped River Forest on a potential 2-point conversion with about 10 seconds to go. Jackson lost, and he has just been the man in Griffith, Indiana. 160 yards last week. He had all 2 touchdowns, and, of course, that he had 12 touchdowns now on the year. He's really been a vocal point in this offense. This team only has 1 senior, but, they've been playing way better than a team that should only have 1 senior.
Yeah, they're, kind of going into it. There's a lot of solid juniors in the area. As I was kind of filling out these notes for us, there is a lot of talent in that class of 25, but hey, you were there. You can kind of break it down for me. Go check out that news package, voiced by the man himself. Sound just like butter. Smooth like butter, man. It was nice little voiceover.
It was a great game. Going into that, we didn't know. We haven't seen both of those teams play yet. Going into that game, so I was kind of curious. We talked about River Forest and Aiden Silver. And obviously Griffith, Phil Mason, how, close he is with Region Sports and, barbershop talk that we had with Level Up Barber Lounge.
Go check that out, too.
Yeah, absolutely. And
plenty of plugs today. We're plugging everything.
But, really, the team does not look like they have 1 senior. That is a big team to have a lot of juniors and sophomores. I was impressed by them. Now, Griffith was up 21-7. You got to give credit to River Forest. They never backed down. They never gave up. They came back and almost won the game. I mean, they went for 2 for the win. They were aggressive, and you can't blame them for doing that just because maybe you felt this game goes to overtime. Our defense hasn't really been able to stop him, especially in Jackson Lawson. And, Colton Strezzo did a really great job at quarterback. I thought the whole team did very well. And Phil Mason, he's got some cooking there. And I'm really impressed by what he's done, his first year. And, when you have a team with only 1 senior, who's going to step up and be those leaders?
Yeah.
And they had multiple guys communicating on the defensive end and the offensive end. Yeah. So, it's not like you have your 3 captains and they're the only ones talking. Everyone was talking. And I was genuinely impressed by that. And like I said, they've got size for these kids, not only 1 senior. They've got size. And I'm really interested to see how they finish off the year, but also see them in next year's competition.
That's
just
true.
Because
plenty of seniors.
Absolutely, and I think Jackson Lawson, he's blossoming into one of the finest region running backs.
Another great junior.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean that's why Mason, he kind of explained it at Level Up.
Yeah.
That's why he took the job in the first place. He sees something in this team, a very young team, but a very talented team as we've seen so far. It was, again, a struggle first 3 weeks against some non-conference tough opponents, but they're doing work in the GSSC, and that's kind of all that matters. But again, East Chicago next week, I think that's a favorable contest.
Absolutely.
First meeting since 2020, so that's kind of interesting. But again, expect the juniors to show out again.
So one of the biggest takeaways, other than the football aspect, was Phil Mason. I mean, he is charging down the sideline. I mean, he is boisterous in a good way, obviously, but he's there. If he sticks up for his players, he's there to protect his team. I was like I said, I was impressed. Phil Mason obviously is one of the finest, high school region football coaches we've seen. But to see him at Griffith trying to, kind of get Griffith back on the map. A team that
That's what he said too,
really hasn't been where they usually were years ago. Trying to get them back to that holy ground. And he's really doing a very good job. It was a great turnout. They had the Pop Warner kids there, so they had fireworks after. They had fireworks after the game.
That's awesome.
So I think he's building something special, and we didn't get to cover much games, but the fact that we got to go out there for Griffith and River Forest, I took a lot from that, and I'm excited to see how Griffith does going forward.
They're knocking on the door, man. Yeah. Knocking on this top 10, so we'll see.
Well, to get to know that top 10, you're going to have to wait, because we're going to take a break here on Region Football Weekly as you're watching this on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors. Plus, built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobels.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel. Building better together.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til To Go. Our to-go service is easy to use, and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. I'll cover your motorcycle. I'll be with you on the water. I'll be with you on the snow. I'll cover your insurance needs wherever you go. I'll be at Crowell Agency from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, the insurance professionals in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City.
From schools to stadiums, hospitals and bridges, everywhere you look, union carpenters are building Indiana. With jobs and skilled trades in high demand, there's never been a better time to start building your future. As an apprentice, you'll earn a debt-free college degree, earn while you learn, and receive great benefits like healthcare and retirement. So what are you waiting for? Visit carpenters.com to learn more. Visit carpenters.com and start building your future today.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Have you checked out Centier Bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital banking, and automatic deposit. Centier Bank can help you start establishing good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit Centier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Centier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Centier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account is not eligible for overdraft advantage. Member FDIC.
Welcome back to Region Football Weekly here in our Suntier Bank Studios. I'm Jack Thiel, alongside me, Mike Dewan. If you're just joining us, we have gone over our bubble teams. Now it's time for the RSN Top 10, and coming in at number 10, just staying in. Man, they're on a thin ice.
Yep.
The Michigan City Wolves are number 10 team, 2-3 on the year, 1-2 in the DAC. Lost to Maryville 17-0. That's their second straight loss. The offense, once again, fell flat. It's only 7 points in the last 2 weeks. You know, Jaden Hart, Syracuse commit, had a solid game, though. 20 carries for 134 yards, which is about 6.7 yards per carry. Big-time matchup at the Burial Grounds this week against Lake Central. It's a homecoming game for the Indians, but a top 10 matchup. It is one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. It's a video broadcast, but for Michigan City, does not get, you go from Valpo to Maryville. And now at Lake Central, you know, maybe you don't say that in past years, but Lake Central kind of has, you know, earned that respect just because they're, you know, I believe they're number 3 in the DAC or number 4. They might be tied for 3rd.
Right.
But, you know, it's not easy for Michigan City. Now they have a long drive all the way to St. John, Indiana. You know, backs against the wall just because you've lost 2 in a row. You're 2-3. This team had a lot of high hopes, a couple of D1 kids who can definitely, you know, make some plays. And here you are, 1 loss away from going 2-4, or you're a win away from getting back to 500.
Yeah, of course. We kept him in this top 10. We talked about it for a long time, kind of who to throw in this list, because there's so many teams that are pretty deserving and can make a case for themselves as a top 10 team. And again, playing Maryville and Valpo back to back is not ideal.
Other than playing Crown Point and Valpo back to back, that's probably the second hardest stretch is Maryville and Valpo.
I'd say so. So that's, you know, you can't really penalize them too much for that. And they played well against Maryville. I mean, it was 3-0 going into the 4th, and then Maryville scores 2 defensive touchdowns. So we'll get into that game a little bit later, but the offense has to come to play. And I think LC hopefully is a little bit of a bounce back game for that offense. Michigan City's defense has been playing pretty solid, I'd say, as of late. Again, they've only gave up 3 points against a Maryville offense that, you know, has some players, but they've been struggling as well. But, you know, it's good to see Jaden Hart kind of get back. You know, I think that's one of his better games of the year. Couldn't find the end zone, but a 6.7 average against that Maryville front 7 is tough to do, and they did a great job. So we'll see. That's going to be a great game, I think, at LC. I think we're going to have some guys on the call that we know. So
yeah, absolutely. And I think what will be interesting for Michigan City is last year when these 2 teams played, they probably got the offensive output they wanted. They scored 31 points. Although they lost, still scored 31. That's kind of the offense they want, they need. And, you know, this might not be a rivalry game in our eyes, but these teams are neck and neck in terms of their series record. You know, over the past 21 years, Lake Central has the all-time lead, 11-10. So these, these guys have been going back and forth. So this is, not, you talk about Lake Central and Munster, Lake Central and Crown Point, but one of the hidden rivalries I think is Michigan City and Lake Central, just because of how back and forth these matchups have been over the years in terms on the gridiron. So. Will be a very good game.
Yeah, it's a very comparable matchup, and there's a lot of talent on both sides, and we'll be happy to be a part of it. So.
Yeah, and like we mentioned, 2-2 in the last 4 meetings, these 2 teams are against each other. So once again, game night built by Von Tobel, and you can view that on our Facebook and YouTube page, of course, on our website at regionsports.com. Number 9, still staying in the top 10, although they lost to Boone Grove Wolves, 3-2 on the year. They lost to Wheeler, like we mentioned earlier, one of our bubble teams, 28-20. Mark Rowland, he was rolling, throughout the year, but kind of got, caught up, kind of got stuck, in his game against Wheeler. Only 196 yards, 2 interceptions. He is, though, 65 yards away from a pretty amazing accomplishment in his career, but, for the defense, they could not stop the pass. It was the second straight week where they went down 14-0. They came back. They came back against South Central, but they couldn't do it here against Wheeler. They have River Forest, a team that is pretty good, although they're coming off a loss, 2 straight losses, I should say. They're still a pretty good team. Aiden Silver, the quarterback, you have to watch out for him. But this game is probably for the division, just because these 2 teams seem to be the top 2. But for Boone Grove, they haven't beat River Forest in about 3 years. It was 33-6 River Forest last year. But for Boone Grove, I think the big thing obviously is to win, but also is to not go down 14-0.
Yeah, that's been a weird trend of theirs as of the past 2 weeks, and they were able to get it done against South Central, but that's not sustainable.
Yeah.
And having a passing attack as theirs, that's also you really got to have your leader on, because if he's playing well, the rest of the team will follow suit. And again, it was a tough day for Roland. You can't bat 1,000 every week, and it's what else can you say? Wheeler played a great game, and you'd think with Boone Grove, with how much they throw the ball, you think hopefully their passing defense, they kind of work on that at practice a little bit, and it was a little bit non-existent last Friday. I got to give respect to Wheeler's quarterback Klimzak and straight out of Compton, Bryce Compton, with what they did last week, and it's again something they really got to look forward going into a couple weeks. So we'll see. This game probably is going to be for the North, as you mentioned. It's River Forest is 0-0 in the North, even though they have their 2 straight losses in the conference. It's they're on a fresh slate, and they're looking to get that first one under their belt. So that's going to be a very solid game. It sucks they got to go back to Wheeler, the place that they lost last week. Their stadium is, I believe, still under renovation.
Yeah.
Boone Grove has a big new stadium plans in the works coming up pretty shortly, but they had to delay that. So they'll be at Wheeler for that game, and it's again that's a precursor of who's going to hold that North title.
Absolutely. Now number 8, the Morton Governors, 2-3 on the year, bounce back one against Calumet, 46-6. Team's very interesting because they're 2-0 at home, 0-3 on the road, but their losses are pretty impressive. Penn, Elkhart, and Hanover. They had 3 passing scores from Holland Harris Jr., the junior quarterback, 3 rushing touchdowns as a team. They've got Bowman Academy, a team that they can definitely beat. But for Morton, you look at 2-3. Why are they this far up in our rankings? Because they probably have some of the most impressive losses out of our top 10, and a chance to get back to 500 this week.
Yeah, I mean, again, that non-conference schedule, they have to look out for teams that they hold themselves to a high standard. We could say, obviously, they of course Penn is one of the best in the state. Hanover, of course, we'll talk about later. But going into that game, Hanover, they lost by 10. No team could say that this year. They played at Hanover, and they played them well. They played, again, a state-ranked team, a highly ranked team on our list, better than anybody else has so far in the area. So I think they are deserving of a spot on this list. I kind of mentioned last week that they'll find themselves on this list because they're a very young team, but they're, again, very talented, and they're winning the games they're supposed to. Their wins may not be, again, the most quality of wins, but I think they got some games coming up that could really prove that, and I think they could get a dub against Bowman. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Now number 7, the Lake Central Indians, 3-2, 2-1 in DAC. They defeated LaPorte 17-12. That was another win without their star running back Xavier Williams. But we've kind of mentioned this in the past weeks. It's been a blessing in disguise just because the passing game, man, has it evolved for these Indians. Chase Kwiatkowski, since week 3, which was really the absence of, Xavier Williams, 614 passing yards. He only had 98 in the first 2 weeks. And you could argue his opponents were, maybe, I won't say easier, but kind of were. You had Munster and Providence Catholic, 2 teams that you think you could pass all over.
Yeah.
And then you think of the teams he's played, as recently Crown Point, Portage, LaPorte. Those are conference games. And the fact that he's been able to do that is very impressive. And the receiving talent has also come along with that passing game. L.J. Richardson, last week, 9 catches, 145 yards, and 2 touchdowns. But also James Graham. They really have a 2-headed monster when it comes to the receiving room. Like we said, Michigan City at the Burial Grounds, one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. It is homecoming. We don't know if Williams will play this week, but nevertheless, Lake Central's got a passing game. I don't know when the last time we said that.
You would know.
Chase Kwiatkowski, he can run, though, and pass. He's really becoming a dual-threat quarterback, and I know Rick Good is loving what he's seeing out of his junior quarterback.
Yeah, it was fun to talk to him. I watched that episode of
Talking with the Tribe,
and he seemed, again, great kid,
Absolutely,
motivated, a proven leader, and he's had to step up in Xavier's absence, and again, he's been great. And as we mentioned, it's kind of a little blessing in disguise, as much as you kind of hate to say that about an injury, but who knows what his skill set really was like if he didn't have to go out there and throw it a little bit more. You know, as we mentioned in the first 2 weeks, 98 yards. That's not a whole lot, and he's trumped that number by a lot over these past 3 weeks against very solid competition. And he's built some connections with, of course, Richardson and Graham, and Richardson especially. Great week last week, and another junior as well as Kwiatkowski. So, again, not only looking for what they're going to do the rest of the year, but, again, keep the tribe in mind coming 2024. But we talked to a little bit of Richardson and Graham.
Yeah,
correct?
Absolutely. So with homecoming this week for Lake Central, we were able to follow them around, but also the team, kind of get their feelings on how it is to play at homecoming, big-time matchup. But here's this week's edition of Talking with the Tribe.
Coming into this week, Lake Central is set to face off against the Michigan City Wolves. It's an opportunity for the Indians to start 3-1 in the DAC for the second time in a row under head coach Rick Good. Practice and preparation is vital for getting ready for Friday night's game.
Get set. All right, Jim. Knock that thing in the next week. Say hit. Nice. Good job, Jace. Another point of emphasis. We have got ready. Say hit. Beautiful.
Off. For you guys, just think Bama angle. All right? It was a black call, by the way. So it's black. All right? You're stepping here. You're doing this. You're looping around, Jeff. You're.
Outside in. Come on. Good.
But this game means more than just a record. It's homecoming week for the Indians. Homecoming during the football season is one of the busiest weeks of the year, with all the events taking place during the week. It'll be important for the team to keep their focus on the football field for Friday night.
Yeah, it definitely changes things. Anybody that tells you it doesn't, hasn't done the full week experience. There's powder puff games and there's early starts and dress down days and a lot of things going on that you really want the kids to get involved with and have a good experience and the full high school experience. So, you don't really look forward to homecoming, but once it's here, the atmosphere in the crowd is much better. So, having that type of distraction throughout the week really does go and prep us for Friday. But yeah, anytime that you're getting outside of your routine, I think the team and the rest of the staff is definitely not really excited to get out there and do those types of things. Talk a little bit early in the week that the reason that we're all here and the reason that the people come home and the reason for the fans to be in the stands is for the football game. So it is the main attraction. It's the main event for the week, and we want to make sure that we put on a good performance and show our fan base that we've been working hard all week. So it is more fun for the kids, and it's a lot more fun with the kids that'll be on court at halftime. But that does cut into some of the things that you're looking to accomplish, and having those kids kind of go through that adversity does help you for the rest of the season.
I think we're all still pretty focused on this. I mean, we got some spirit days in the school that we're dressing up for, but I mean, it's not really distracting us too much. We still know that we got to come out here and work up until Friday so we can get paid on payday.
No, everything's staying the same. No matter, there's no distractions. I'm always focused, always locked in, especially at practice, because all the time that we have in the week matters. And you got to make the best of all of it. So, I mean, sure, there is some distraction, but I don't let them bother me. Looking forward to the environment, the chills, and just overall just getting to perform and do my thing out there.
Other than the homecoming buzz, some of the other buzz surrounding football is the evolved pass game that has been displayed over the past games. The Ariel Tech has made its progress due to the great play of the wide receivers, L.J. Richardson and James Graham III.
I think it definitely took a step with the development of the quarterback. The receivers developed along with them. So I think the chemistry grew and just the receiver room got stronger and we all gelled together a little bit more, and that helped a lot.
It's been, for me, I've liked it a lot because, I'm a receiver myself. So me and all the receiver crew like it. It's pretty good, yeah.
Run, Routine! Push it down, there you go! Run! Seal! Run! Seal! Routine! Where's the seal? Run him, John! Run him! Run! There you go! Seal! Go!
For the Indians, they haven't won consecutive games yet this year. This week is an opportunity to flip the switch ahead of their tough upcoming schedule.
Yeah, a lot of it is that consistency that you mentioned. A practice after a win, a Monday after a win is sometimes a little bit of a letdown. Guys kind of rest on the fact that we did get a win. And kind of breaking that streak or that habit where on Monday morning or Tuesday afternoon, we're really having more and more of that focus that gets you into a winning streak. So having a little bit of senior leadership this week is going to help. We did have a little bit of a flat practice today. Which is to be understood with, like I said, the dress downs and the things that are going on. So, having those guys kind of really put 4 good days in a row together is really going to be key to make sure that, all those distractions aren't going to take over the week.
Honestly, I think the message is we have to want it, honestly. I mean, if we don't want it, we're not going to get it. So we got to work for it. Like Coach has been preaching all week so far, we got to come out here and work for it. And we can't be lazy out here coming out in the warm-ups and in between drills, water breaks, all that stuff. We got to move with a purpose. And if we don't do that, then we won't be able to accomplish our goals. And we just need to execute. Everybody's got to do their job. We got to trust the guy next to us to do his job. And I think if we all do that, we can win.
It's very important, actually, because last year we weren't that consistent, and we won a couple. We felt like we were at the top, and then we started to fall. So this year I want to change it up. I actually want to keep that consistency going, and especially it being our HOCO game, I want to win this one for real. The message has been just like keep our head up, play the full quarters, full 4 quarters, and don't let nothing out there, nothing in the crowd distract us. Just lock in and just play our game, play our best.
Hey man, good intensity, good energy today. Let's bring it tomorrow, stack practices, let's come out, fly around. LC, man, 3, 1, 2, 3. LC.
We hope you enjoyed that edition of Talking with the Tribe. Of course, you can view that later on our Facebook and YouTube page. Now, what's interesting about Lake Central that I want to talk about for a little bit is the fact that we talk about the passing game, how much it's evolved. Chase Kwiatkowski is number 2 in the Dual Conference in passing yards. Their opposing quarterback, Tyler Bush, is number 1. And L.J. Richardson is the conference leading receiver in yards.
A lot of talent on both sides.
Exactly.
So it's going to be a fun game, and we're happy to be a part of it.
And if Xavier Williams does play, I will be really interested to see how that offense looks. Because, look, Xavier Williams, he's a bell cow back. I mean, he gets 20, 25 carries a game. When, Xavier's been out, running backs are only getting about 8, 10 carries a game. Kwiatkowski's on a lot of the carries as well. They run a lot of RPOs.
That's a big thing.
So how does that all? I mean, you have this evolved passing game. So I'd be curious to see. Like I said, we don't know if he's playing, but if he does, how does the offense look?
Bringing him back. I mean, again, finding out that passing attack that brings a whole new level to the RPO. I mean, that's a third of the thing. The RPO. When you have a pass, when you finally have a passing game and some receivers that catch the ball, it's you have to respect the pass as well. But again, if Xavier plays, if he doesn't, you still have to respect that run game.
Well, yeah, we came in, everyone asking Rick, what are you going to do other than run the ball with Xavier Williams? I remember, at our Pigskin party at Set 'em Up Lanes, Jay Simmons and I were talking about this at the end of week 1. Lake Central got that win against Munster. We're like, well, what are they going to do if, they can't run the ball?
And the next week, I think Kwiatkowski had 94 of those passing yards against Munster, had 4 against Providence Catholic.
Yeah, he did not really pass the ball against Providence Catholic. So
it's a one-trick pony that we're doing.
You know,
and then again, I hate to talk about a blessing in disguise when a player goes down, but who knows how well this connection could be with Kwiatkowski and his receivers, and just kind of the offense finally finding itself a new layer of it.
Yeah, especially so. Like I said, if you want to know if Xavier Williams plays or not, or just watch the Indians take on the Wolves, game night built by Von Tobel.
Yes, sir.
It'll be at the Burial Grounds. It's going to be a video broadcast, and like I said, you can view it on our YouTube, Facebook, and our website. Now let's go to number 6, the Hammond Central Wolves. They lose their first game of the season, but it's a tough loss. They had to go all the way to Pioneer. They lost 28-12. They got outran. Pioneer had 274 rushing yards, while Hammond Central had 168. Sean Woods, the man we keep talking about, had one of his rough games of the year. Only 130 rushing yards.
Only.
Had a touchdown, but he also had 2 fumbles. Obviously, Pioneer really made it hard for him to do anything. Now they got Chula Vista East Lake. They have to go all the way to California. I wish I could hop on that plane with them. I'd enjoy that weather a lot more.
No, they're coming here.
They are?
Yeah.
Oh.
Chula Vista's coming here.
Oh, wow. I thought Hammond would be going out there.
Man.
Okay, so
They're coming here.
Well, Chula Vista, I mean, they reached out to Hammond. They're flying 55 guys out. They haven't won a game so far, but who knows with these California
Cali
teams.
boys are different, man.
But I think they're going to have to put on their, hand warmers on. They're not used to this weather.
Yeah,
it's sunny and hot in California here in the region. Maybe it's nice weather, but compared to California, it's probably like frigid here.
Yeah, I know. I remember seeing like newscasts of people in California, and when the temperature drops below 70, they put on their jackets, and it's like World War III out there. But it's yeah, we'll see. That's going to be a big factor.
Yeah, absolutely. It's different.
It's of course you got to hop on a flight. Time zones are different. I don't know when they're flying in, but I was fortunate enough to talk to Adam Hudak at our at the Munster Orama a little bit. In the preseason a little bit, but he kind of mentioned that they're flying a bunch of guys out, and they're going to have a team meal and stuff before, together, and they're kind of have a little bit of camaraderie between the two. And then I know East Lake's going to go to, I think, Northwestern for a little college game day type. So they're going to, kind of explore, I bet Chicago and the area, but it's, again, that's kind of the lengths you have to go if you're somebody like Hammond Central or Morton that have to schedule all these non-conference games. With a conference of 3, you're going to have to schedule a lot of non-conference games to fill that schedule. And, who knows how that relationship kind of started between them and Chula Vista, a team all the way in California. But it's awesome. He mentioned that it's the first time that a team has come at least that far to play, a team in NWI. And it's I don't really know what to expect. It's a tough loss, and I know Hammond's hungry, and Chula Vista's definitely hungry, going 0-5. But it's I think that weather kind of works in Hammond Central's favor, but it'll be a fun game, and that's going to mean, again, probably a whole lot more than football.
I was going to say I was going to be a little jealous if it was Hammond Central going to California.
That's a nice little vacation.
Invited the
RSN in the middle of the semester, get to go to California instead of staying in Hammond, where it's temps are already dipping below 60. So it's going to be a hot week this week, but still it's no Cali weather.
Yep, but once again, Hammond Central will host Chula Vista. It's like you mentioned, kind of checking out the college football scene. They don't have college game day not too far from them, about an hour and 10 minutes. It's in South Bend Saturday.
I could talk about that for an hour, but we can keep
you talked about Northwestern having that atmosphere, South Bend, about an hour and 10 minutes. You want to catch some college game day. Hopefully, I don't know if Chula Vista East Lake is watching
baby.
Us, but
go Irish.
If you want to really catch a great college football atmosphere, go where ESPN's going to be, and of course NBC in South Bend, Indiana, for that Ohio State Notre Dame game.
I can't wait.
But this is high school football.
This is high school. All right, I'll get off.
We do have a lot of great.
I'll get off that train now.
Obviously, Drake Bowen, a Notre Dame
That's
commit,
true.
has a forced fumble already this year on a kickoff return. So glad to see one of our region own doing well. But we're going to go to our top 5, but we're going to do that after the break. And we'll introduce who those teams are as you're watching Region Football Weekly here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Develop skills that will last for a lifetime with an apprenticeship with the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 4, Indiana, Kentucky. The apprenticeship and training program is committed to developing highly skilled bricklayers, terrazzo workers, and ceramic tile setters to provide the construction industry with the best hands in the business. If you are currently working non-union and want better pay with benefits, or if you think learning a new skill with a paid apprenticeship while you earn your associate's degree is the right path for you, visit baclocal4.org/training to learn more about the apprenticeship program. Are you built to succeed?
For over 100 years, Burns Funeral Home and Crematory has been assisting families in their time of need. Serving Northwest Indiana, the staff at Burns Funeral Home will help guide your family in creating a meaningful ceremony. From a simple to elaborate, to traditional or unique, the caring family at Burns Funeral Home will tailor a ceremony to fit your needs. And for your other loved ones, Burns Funeral now has a pet cemetery and crematory. Visit burnsfuneral.com or give them a call at 219-942-1117.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.
Back here on Region Football Weekly in our Centier Bank Studios, I'm Jack Thiel, alongside me, Mike Dewan. Now, the amazing thing about working for Region Sports and having the opportunity to do stuff with them is being able to capture some of the biggest moments in high school football here in Northwest Indiana. And of course, Mike Dewan, you have more on that.
I do. It's I do ask the audience a little bit, how far would you go to kind of relive another Friday night? All the festivities and all the chills that kind of go into it and just the feelings of kind of experiencing that. Well, lucky for you don't have to go very far. Here at RSN, we have a collection of over 1,000 games ranging from last week to the 1960s, from mini cassette tapes to VHS tapes to stuff I've never seen before. We have that much stuff. And there's a chance for you to really relive the Friday Night Lights again, and it's just all the things that make Friday Night Lights great. And we're happy to kind of have all this stuff ranging from decades and decades of games, and you can relive the thrilling victories, the heartbreaking defeats, and all the things that just make it so great. So talk to us here at RSN and help us remember the region. Please visit Remember the Region with the link appearing on the screen right now. #Remember the Region.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the coolest things as well is the many great broadcasters over the years that have come through the region.
True.
And gone to do great things in the professional world. And you can hear their voices. Some of them, aren't here anymore. And you have to go really back, and with this opportunity, for us to preserve these tapes, you can still hear those voices. And, we want to give people every opportunity to do that. So now let's go back into our rankings. We'll go to our number 5 team, the Hobart Brickies. 4-1 on the year, 3-0 in their conference. A huge win on the road against Andrean, 27-24. We talked about it. It was a 10-point comeback. It's their third win against Andrean in the last 10 years. Willie Shahir, another huge game from the junior running back, 207 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns. Johnny Sorensen, the quarterback, he didn't do much, but he was, and anything, he was clutch. Maybe he didn't light up the stat sheet with 300, 400 passing yards, but you want to talk about a quarterback being the general, being clutch, really leading his team. That's what Johnny Sorensen did on Friday night. 82 passing yards, and he had 68 rushing yards with 2 touchdowns. And like I said, he was a game manager, a general. He led this team to a victory, and that's what you want to see out of your quarterback. They have Lowell. That's one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. It will be a video broadcast. So now it's 2 teams that shared the NCC title last year. And Hobart, they won 21-14 last year, but huge win for them. Definitely what they needed, especially going to this game against Lowell. I think this is one of those games where it's going to be a grind and pound. You're really going to have to fight your way. And I'm curious to see how taxed is Hobart's efforts after that win, because that's a hard win. They really had to give everything they had out there. And now you got to play Lowell, who is a very tough team as well. They're very physical. Keith Kilmer, he coaches those guys to really hit you and to really make you work for a win. So I'll be interested to see how Hobart's looks after last week's game, but I think this could be a really good matchup, and for Hobart, a really great chance for them to start the year 5-1.
Yeah, it's a game with Lowell and Hobart. No matter what the records are, what players are playing, it's going to be a good game. And for Hobart, again, second straight week playing a blue blood in the NCC, so that's going to be very interesting. It's nice being at home and not in the Inferno, which is one of the most intimidating places to play. But it's again a lot of credit to Hobart. Willie Shearer is again another junior, which is becoming a trend. But it's again he brings that element to the rushing game. When their passing game wasn't working, he runs for over 200 yards and a 10.4 yards per carry average, which is pretty insane numbers if you look at it that way. But it's again got to give credit to Sorensen. I've been fortunate enough. I've been at every Hobart game this year, doing some sort of coverage, and it's they're a solid team, and what stuck out to me is his leadership. He's again just being in the first year in the program, first year probably really knowing most of the guys. He was at LC for his first few years, and it's you'd think he's been there for his whole life. So it's again credit to his leadership. Again, the stats aren't maybe necessarily there, but they couldn't have done that comeback without him.
Absolutely. Number 4, the Maryville Pirates, 4-1 on the year, 2-1 in the DAC. A nice shootout win against Michigan City, 17-0. Their defense really scored 14 of their 17 points. The offense was kind of slow, but the defense picked it up in that fourth quarter. The offense has only scored 26 points in their last 3 games. They scored 71 in their first 2. They do have LaPorte this week, so definitely a winnable game for them. But this is an offense, honestly, the first week and the second week when they played Crown Point, that's all we talked about. Was the points they scored. And really after that Crown Point game, I don't know, it's not like a switch turned off for the offense, but a switch turned on for the defense, because the defense has really improved since that Crown Point loss, while the offense has kind of taken a step down to what we usually see. But like we said, against LaPorte, a really big chance for them to bounce back. They haven't lost to them since 2017, and they defeated them 41-3 last year, and they're in the middle of that DAC race now. It will be interesting just because when Maryville plays Valpo, there's a lot of DAC shakeup could happen this week with the amount of games we have. True. With a lot of teams being at the 1, the 2, or in the middle spots. It could really shake up where teams are next week. Maryville, they're still kind of, in the background. They can still make that leap to, second or tied for first.
Right.
They still have the chance. And, like we said, they still have Valpo this year. They already played Crown Point. That's their toughest game. They still have to play Lake Central. That should be a great game as well. So they've got opportunities to climb up in the standings, but it's going to take this offense to find their identity once again.
Yeah, credit to the defense. They say offense wins games, defense wins championships, but they do win games too, as they did last Friday. And that defense, again, as we mentioned, is pretty silly with what the talent they have on there, no matter who's playing or who's returning. And I know Trey Stevens is kind of a name that was on our shows pretty early into the year, what his status was, and he's back, and he's been playing well on both sides of the ball. But, again, the X factor is that offense. It's once the DAC hits, that whole offense has switched drastically. And who knows what their confidence was like in the offense after that 6 points against Crown Point, that absolute thrashing that they had at Bulldog Stadium. And it's, again, LaPorte, hopefully it's a bounce-back game for that offense. We kind of said that about Portage, and they put up 17 points, not bad, but defenses keep doing their work. They held them to 7. So, and obviously pitched a shutout again. They're you got to ride the defense, but hopefully that offense kind of kicks it into gear.
Yeah, we'll see. Once again, they play LaPorte this Friday night. We'll go into our top 3, but we're going to take a break here on Region Football Weekly on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.
Update your kitchen or bathroom with Von Tobel. Get 20% off select cabinets now through October 28th. Von Tobel has cabinets and vanities in a range of styles and colors. Plus, built-in storage, countertops, and flooring. Our designers will help you find the perfect selections for your style and budget. Scan to visit VonTobles.com today to book your free consultation at one of our 4 Indiana showrooms. Von Tobel, building better together.
When life takes you places and you can't get to the store, shop online with Strack and Van Til to go. Our to-go service is easy to use and it can save you time and money. Once your order is in, our own Strack and Van Til team preps your order with care. For delivery or pickup, enjoy the convenience of letting our to-go team shop for you. Enjoy your special moments. Sign up online today at shop.strackandvantil.com.
Hi, I'm Crowell Company's Lantern Man. I'll cover your motorcycle. I'll be with you on the water. I'll be with you on the snow. I'll cover your insurance needs wherever you go. I'll be at Crowell Agency from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. As Crowell Company's Lantern Man, I'm your insurance superhero.
Crowell Companies, the insurance professionals in Highland, Maryville, and Michigan City.
From schools to stadiums, hospitals, and bridges, everywhere you look, union carpenters are building Indiana. With jobs and skilled trades in high demand, there's never been a better time to start building your future. As an apprentice, you'll earn a debt-free college degree, earn while you learn, and receive great benefits like healthcare and retirement. So what are you waiting for? Visit carpenters.com to learn more. Visit carpenters.com and start building your future today.
Thinking about what to do after high school? Consider a career with Boilermakers Local 374. As a Boilermaker apprentice, you'll earn while you learn. We offer excellent wages and benefits, and as part of our no-cost hands-on apprenticeship program, you'll learn from the best in state-of-the-art training centers and on the job. Become a union Boilermaker and get on your way to a great career. Find out more, visit www.local374.org or call 219-845-1000.
Have you checked out Centier Bank's student checking account? This no-fee checking account is perfect for students and teens ages 14 to 24 and comes with all the features you need to succeed, such as a debit card, digital banking, and automatic deposit. Centier Bank can help you start establishing good spending habits today for your better tomorrow. For more information, visit centier.com/student-checking or visit your local branch. If you are under the age of 18, your parent or guardian must also sign on the Centier student checking account. At the age of 25, your account will automatically convert to the Centier checking account. You must deposit $25 to open this account. This account is not eligible for overdraft advantage. Member FDIC.
We're getting into our rankings here on Region Football Weekly in our Centier Bank Studios. Jack Theo alongside me, Mike Dewan. Time for our top three. If you've been watching our shows, well, once again, they're the same. They are the same teams because of how dominant they've been playing this whole year. So we'll start it off with Hanover Central, 5-0, 3-0 in their conference. Another dominant win, 47-7 against KV. They've outscored their opponents 206-51. They held a run-dominant KV team to only 98 rushing yards and 7 points, like we said. That's also a team that scored 48 points versus Hobart last week. Caden Verrett, 159 rushing yards with 3 scores. He averaged about 14.5 rushing yards per attempt. He's near, the top total touchdowns in our area.
And he's another junior.
Crazy. They got Munster at Munster, third meeting all time. They last played in 2021, where Hanover won 35-6. Seems like we might see another dominant win from the Wildcats.
Yeah, there's not much more we could say about this team. It's kind of rinse and repeat. I did mention in our countdown a little bit. You could very well put them at 2 or even 1. I did some research, and they have an enrollment. They're a 3A school. They have an enrollment, I'd say, around 800.
Yeah.
And looking at what they're doing to teams that are bigger than them, they might, looking at a pound-for-pound format, kind of like how the UFC does it and stuff like that, they could seriously be the best program in the area in terms of how many kids they have in their school and what they've been able to do, obviously, in a bigger conference with 4A and 5A schools in the NCC. And they are, again, they're running the table with lesser numbers. It's almost it's very impressive, and we do promise they will move up this week if they were to win, and bearing a tie between our 2 and 1 team, which I don't think they're that's even possible.
Yeah, do we even do ties?
Nah, no.
In high school?
So we promised them to move up if they get the job done once again. But yeah, there's not much more we could say about this team. Offense is great.
No flaws.
Defense is great. Very few flaws. That's one of the teams I want to check off my list to see because, again, it's impressive to see how the enrollment is so small for the school and they just pump out talent left and right. And again, they have some very solid junior pieces. You know, I don't want to keep repeating myself, but it's again a very solid program. And they're running things right over there.
Yeah, they really haven't shown any flaws on this team.
it's-
Offense, defense, special teams. They can pass. They can run. You know, when that matchup against Hobart comes about,
That'll be fun.
That might be next week. I'm not 100% sure, but when those two teams play, that will be very interesting.
It's coming
because that's
up, obviously.
for the conference basically. You would assume.
Part of me wants to see. So they're kind of with the NCC. I think they had to schedule 2 non-conference games.
Okay.
And they had Wheeler and Morton.
Yeah.
Morton was a solid game. That was their closest game
Yeah,
of the
that's
year,
the
10
closest
points,
game.
which again, shout out to Morton. But
Mhm.
I kind of want to see them take a stab at maybe a DAC team next year. It seems like these non-conference games, Morton would be cool to keep on the schedule. I think that's going
Yeah.
to be 2 very solid teams next year. Hanover loses a bit, but I think Morton's returning staff, and Hanover's going to have some pieces, of course, and that'd be a good game to keep on the schedule. But I'd like to see them take a stab at maybe like a Chesterton or an LC.
Yeah,
or,
LC
something.
would be very interesting.
Right, it's kind of close to a little
Former
bit.
Lake Central coach Bart
That's
LeMayo
very
is
true.
now the quarterback coach at Hanover.
Right, Michigan City. It'd be cool to see them kind of take a stab at maybe.
Maybe we will this year or next year, I should say.
Maybe the SEC we could call it of conferences in the area. So
Yeah.
take a stab at the big dogs.
Maybe
but
we'll see next year. With how well they're playing. Maybe
knock on. I mean, they're due. They've shown it all, and
with how well they're playing, maybe teams want to crack at them and see if they're legit or see
Right.
what they are. So I think it'll be interesting to see going forward. Number 2, the Valpo Vikings, 4-1, 3-0 in the DAC. Really bouncing back after that Chesterton loss 4 in a row. They beat Chesterton 28-14. It was really a bruiser game, but Julian Stokes had one of his better games of the year. He had 2 touchdowns, 1 on the ground and 1 through the air. Another junior impressing you, Mike Dewan.
it's crazy, man.
Sammy Ampliotis, the senior safety, he had 16 tackles and a sack. And, of course, Travis Crash Davis, he had 107 rushing yards and a touchdown. Valpo, they have the same record now that they had last year on their state championship season. But last year around this time is when things kind of got away from them. They lost to Crown Point, and, they play Crown Point this week. And after that Crown Point loss, I don't think a lot of people thought Valpo would have that run they had. A lot of people probably thought Crown Point would have been that team.
And then they lose to Maryville the week after.
And then they lose to Maryville. This game against Crown Point, which is one of our game nights built by Von Tobel, it's an audio-only broadcast. It really is the DAC championship. I mean, you look at it, they're the only 2 undefeated teams left in the conference. Even if whoever wins has got their toughest opponent out of the gate already.
Yeah.
For Crown Point, after this game, they kind of played the bottom teams. They've already played Maryville. They've already played Lake Central. And now here's Valpo. Those are the top 3 teams in this conference. So they kind of got that hard part out of the way.
You said Valpo got them out the way?
No, Crown Point did.
Yes,
Crown Point.
yes.
Valpo, they still have
That's true.
Maryville. They
That's
still
true.
have Lake Central. And obviously Crown Point this week. So
Right.
for going back to Valpo, a really big opportunity for them. It's at Crown Point, so very hard atmosphere to win in.
Yeah.
But, we kind of talked about it. If you count week 2 to this week, it's kind of been 1A and 1B. Both of these teams have been dominating their opponents' offense, defense, and special teams. And now it's really the clash of the Titans.
We shall see. I'm going to book it right now. Game of the year. We're booking it. Last time I said that, Crown Point spoiled it. But I think, again, it's the best of the best. D1,
Yeah.
D2, D3 talent on both sides of the ball. And, again, I'm so happy we're a part of it. I keep saying that for every game, but we're just fortunate enough to be able to cover this. And we could talk about this game for a while, but it is the DAC championship.
Yeah.
The battle of the 3-0s. There's, I think, LC's 2-1. City's 1-2, and I think LC and Maryville are the only 2-1 teams, and Crown Point got the best of Maryville, and
Crown Point got the best of Lake Central. Yeah.
So it's kind of smooth sailing for them. Yeah, as you obviously mentioned, you covered all the bases kind of already, but it's again big game for Valpo. You don't want to see them drop the same 2 they had last year, and again the consensus of Valpo. I keep harmonizing this every week, but this team was supposed to be better than the state championship team of last year. And they have the pieces, of course. Crash Davis is running the ball well. See, now you got me hooked on it now. Julian Stokes, of course, had a great day. And, of course, Clark, the quarterback, had another solid outing. And they have the pieces to be better.
Yeah.
And it's to really kind of mark that opinion, kind of check that off, you got to beat Crown Point.
And I'm pretty sure since Valpo had a lot of returning kids, they remember that loss last year.
Oh, yeah.
And at home, look, they got a ring. Don't get me wrong. You probably think, well, why would they care? They won state. No, they care.
You want the DAC title.
You want the DAC. You want to beat a rival. And especially when it's done on your home field,
yeah,
it stings a little bit more. So I'm sure coming in, like I said, I think people stopped talking about Valpo after that Penn loss, maybe thought, it's that championship hangover. And, are they going to be the same team? But they've shown that they definitely deserve to be in that same conversation as Crown Point. And like we said, clash of the Titans against our number one team in the RSN rankings. They've been number one for the longest time as anybody has this year. Crown Point Bulldogs 5-0, 3-0 in the DAC. They beat Portage 49-6. They were down by 6 in that game, actually. Well, for Crown Point, that doesn't matter. They scored 49 unanswered points. Noah Ehrlich, I don't know what else you could say about this kid.
Guess what he is?
Impressive.
A
junior. 254 yards and 4 touchdowns in only 2 quarters. Jacob Jones, a senior DB and receiver, he had over 200 all-purpose yards, 2 scores, an interception, a forced fumble, an Andrean transfer. They've outscored their opponents 217-38.
Jeez.
It's their 14th straight regular season win, their 10th straight DAC win. We talked about it. Valpo, they beat them 34-13 last year, but for Crown Point, I don't know what else we can say. They do it all. The only team to really give them a test, and I do air quotes because it was only a test for a couple of minutes, was Lake Central because it was 15-6, but then they blew them out of the waters. It was 38-12.
Still won by 26,
yeah.
So it's like...
I guess if you're Crown Point, you got to just keep doing what you're doing because it's working. Ehrlich, Landon Delich, Ellison.
It seems like it's a new weapon every week.
Jones that we just talked. I mean, for Crown Point, at home again, this game is going to be packed. I mean, Bulldog Park, I believe is that what it's called, the stadium? I'm not sure. Something with a bulldog, I'm
call
pretty
it what
sure.
you want.
Something with a bulldog, I'm pretty sure.
We'll
but
say that.
Nevertheless, for Crown Point, this win could put them on another level. Just because if they beat Valpo, and even if they beat them by a lot, it's really who could touch them in the area.
Yeah.
And, the only teams that would be able to really probably keep up with them are teams near the Indianapolis area. This is really a chance for Crown Point to really solidify themselves, and not just one of the best teams, of course, in Northwest Indiana, but one of the best teams in the state of Indiana.
Yeah, it's again looking ahead. They lost to Lafayette Jefferson last year.
Mm-hmm.
That Lafayette Jefferson team's not that they lost to Michigan City earlier in the year.
Yeah.
So that's kind of putting things into perspective. But looking ahead for them, I mean, again, like you're saying about them being so great in the state, that's a very possibility they could run the tables. But this game, I mean, if they get over Valpo, they're going to probably go undefeated again for the second straight regular season on their way to a DAC title. And this is, if they get the job done again, it's something sort of historic. I mean, you're putting it up there with kind of the Hobart teams of the 80s. You could almost say that the run that they've been on and just smoking through the regular season and the area's best conference.
Craig Bazia, I mean, job well done by him. The kids want to play for him. And like we said, Crown Point, they're, after this week, they gotten really the tough part of the DAC.
Rip the Band-Aid off.
I think after that, now I could be wrong, are teams like LaPorte, Chesterton, and Maryville, I believe. Or not Maryville, Michigan City.
Yeah.
So I believe those are their final 3 games after this week. So, look, I mean, the DAC is tough, and you never know what can happen. But, for Crown Point, if they could beat Valpo, that means they've defeated at least the number 2 team in Valpo, at least the number 3 team in Michigan City, and probably the number 4 team in Lake Central.
Yeah.
So you're feeling pretty confident
right.
The fact that you've beaten all those teams. You've kind of gotten that, we call it the DAC gauntlet out of the way.
Basically.
Kind of get that out of the way. So we'll see what that one, once again, Valpo, Crown Point, audio broadcast only. It's one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. And, of course, you can view that on our website, regionsports.com, our Facebook, and our YouTube page. We'll talk about that game a little more after the break as we have a few games to highlight as you're watching Region Football Weekly here on the Region Sports Network. the only game in town.
With electrical services from Economy Electric Heating and Cooling, you can radiate the perfect amount of light and energy into your home. From rewiring and code upgrades to ceiling fans, lighting, security, and more, Economy Electric Heating and Cooling's trained electricians will make sure you can enjoy your home on full power all the time. For a free estimate on electrical work, call Economy Electric Heating and Cooling at 219-923-4441, and you can visit them on the web at 4ajobdoneright.com. That's the number 4ajobdoneright.com.
Develop skills that will last for a lifetime with an apprenticeship with the Bricklayers and Allied Craft Workers Local 4, Indiana, Kentucky. The apprenticeship and training program is committed to developing highly skilled bricklayers, terrazzo workers, and ceramic tile setters to provide the construction industry with the best hands in the business. If you are currently working non-union and want better pay with benefits, or if you think learning a new skill with a paid apprenticeship while you earn your associate's degree is the right path for you, visit baclocal4.org/training to learn more about the apprenticeship program. Are you built to succeed?
For over 100 years, Burns Funeral Home and Crematory has been assisting families in their time of need. Serving Northwest Indiana, the staff at Burns Funeral Home will help guide your family in creating a meaningful ceremony. From a simple to elaborate to traditional or unique, the caring family at Burns Funeral Home will tailor a ceremony to fit your needs. And for your other loved ones, Burns Funeral now has a pet cemetery and crematory. Visit burnsfuneral.com or give them a call at 219-942-1117.
Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso is a leader in athletics apparel and equipment sales. With in-house production including screen printing, trophies, embroidery, and more, Blythe's can help you to create the perfect look. For more information, visit them online at teamblythes.com. Blythe's Team Sports in Valparaiso, where the athletes shop.
Back here on Region Football Weekly in our Sentier Bank studios. If you're just joining us, we went over our bubble teams and, of course, our RSN Top 10. If you don't know us, I'm Jack Thiel. Of course, my partner in crime, Mike Dewan. Now it's time to go over our games to discuss. Mr. Dewan, you had yourself a tough week in predicting the games.
Man. Come on, man.
You're 4-3 now on the year.
On to the next one.
We have 5 games that you're going to predict this week, and we'll start off with our bubble matchup. Wheeler at Westside, big-time matchup. We talked about how one team won via the passing attack and one team won via the rushing attack last week. Let's hear it, Dewan. What are your keys to the game, and who do you have coming out with the victory?
5-0 week incoming for me, hopefully. We're going to start it with Wheeler and Westside, obviously, as you mentioned. I'm going to go with Wheeler.
Okay.
I think they're riding high. They've been playing. Oh, look at you marking it down.
Gotta mark it down. I got to remember.
Beautiful.
Can't escape.
Yeah, I think I think their passing attack is solid.
Okay.
I think, again, the play by Klimzak and Compton, they're guys to look out for. And I think it'll be a close game. I'll say Wheeler by a touchdown.
Okay.
I'll say they go into a hostile environment, West Side. That's going to be a fun first meeting between the two programs. Wheeler, a pretty solid program, and West Side trying to get their signature really big signature GSSC one, so we'll see this week.
Yeah, both teams 2-1 in the conference. Next game, River Forest, Boone Grove, our number 9 team. Both teams coming off a loss. For River Forest, it's 2 in a row. For Boone Grove, another loss where, or actually another game where they're down 14-0. First time they were able to come back. This time they weren't. So two teams trying to bounce back. And for River Forest, these were 2 teams in our top 10 at the same time at one time.
Yeah.
And River Forest now not there. They lost to Griffith, but for Boone Grove, they're still at number 9. So win and you're still in, lose and
This is
you're
for
out.
The King of the North
So
right here.
big game. It's not at Boone Grove. It's at Wheeler because of, we talked about
construction,
the new renovations for a new football stadium, with a big time match between the Ingots and the Wolves.
Yeah, it would have been fun for the Wolves to open up at their stadium. I think that kind of plays into a little bit of it, but I think Boone Grove takes it. I think it's going to be a very close game. I'm going to say Boone Grove by 3. But it's, again, a lot of highlight plays I think expect to come. I think Boone Grove's going to find that passing attack again. They got, again, Torpson and the Noonan twins and a couple other guys that could catch passes. You could throw just about anybody out there, and they'll catch a pass. And for Forest, of course, Aiden Silver, you kind of saw them last week, and they got some guys too. So it'll be fun, but give me the Wolves in this one.
Definitely one of the best quarterback matchups we'll see this week between Aiden Silver and Mark Rowland.
Only one junior this time, not two. So I'm high on this class, man.
Only one.
I haven't seen really a talented class like this. Well, this is my first year covering sports, but I guess all time. It's going to be fun next year, but we're going to talk about this year a little bit more.
Well, if we want to talk about another junior quarterback, it's in our next game. We'll talk about one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. Video broadcast at the Burial Grounds, number 10 Michigan City at number 7 Lake Central. It's homecoming night for the Indians. Big time matchup, not just because it's homecoming, just because these two teams, they have traded blows for the past 21 years. Lake Central leads the all-time series 11-10. Lake Central won 35-31 last year. We don't know the status of Xavier Williams, but that has not seemed to matter as Chase Kwiatkowski has turned into a dual-threat quarterback. But for Michigan City, you have the D1 commit out of Syracuse, Hart at running back. Got some big boys on the defensive end of things, and a lot of receivers. I will say for Michigan City, they share the ball a lot. They have a guy, Elijah Collins, who gets the ball a lot. Bell, another guy. And
Benjamin Martin.
Those three guys are really the main vocal points of that offense. They do a really good job. But I'm really excited because there is a ton of great talent on the field. Now, it might not be your 4 or 5 star guys, but there are a lot of kids out there who have great talent. And, two teams feature kids who have kickoff returns this year. So something to look out for. We have 2 teams that feature some of the best passing yard numbers this year. We have 2 teams who feature some of the best receiving numbers this year. And if Xavier Williams does play,
2 D1 commits.
2 D1 running back commits. It's a big-time matchup at Lake Central. If Lake Central wins, it's the first time in 8 years they'll be 3-1 in the DAC. It's been a while. I was talking to Rick Good about that. He said we're excited. But Lake Central, they haven't won back-to-back games all year. For Michigan City, very pivotal part for them just because you're either going to be 2-4 and 1-3 in the DAC, or you're going to be 3-3 and 2-2 in the DAC. A lot to play for Michigan City. They got their backs against the wall, but also a dangerous team because with that kind of mindset, you play pretty loose. You feel like you have nothing to lose. Against a team like Lake Central, you've had a tough 2-game stretch with Maryville and Valpo. But, we talk about 1 and 2, Crown Point and Valpo. Obviously we'll be at this game. This is going to be a really good matchup between 2 teams who have a lot of close games against one another.
Yeah, way to sell it, man. You could sell water to a well after hearing that speech. So, Jack Thiel, everybody. But, yes, you covered all the bases. A lot of talent on both sides. A lot of all-conference players, future all-conference, future all-area players even, future D1 commits, D2, NAIA, D3, you name it, they got it. So it's I think the X factor a little bit. I like LC's run defense. I was at LC Crown Point, and they did a great job against a very solid Crown Point run offense. And I think, again, Jaden Hart, that's probably one of the toughest players they're going to play all year in terms of just a single player. So that's kind of the X factor, see how they do in the trenches and against him. But Michigan City may have to resort to that pass game that really hasn't seen too much progress over these past few weeks. And you mentioned those playmakers. I think that's the X factor. Who
has more playmakers?
Yeah, and I mean, who makes the plays too?
Who makes the plays?
Big time players make big time plays. I harmonize that again, but it's I think I'm gonna go with. I think City's due.
Yeah.
I think City. It's gonna be
hungry. They're very hungry.
Both teams are hungry. I think LC. This is kind of a game where LC 3-1 in the conference. That's something that hasn't really been heard of in a while.
8 years.
I think it's very doable. It could kind of be almost a coin flip type of game, but I'm going to go City by 3 points. I think LC, it'd be interesting to, Xavier Williams' status, it's always in question.
The big question.
They'll be well if he does not play. He does not play this game, but I think if he does, that'll be very interesting. As you were explaining, see how that offense has kind of transformed in the past few weeks. And if you add a D1 commit, next to your quarterback on an RPO type style offense, that can give City some trouble. So right now, I'll go City by 3.
Absolutely. And, what's also interesting is Lake Central, maybe they're not the prettiest wins against Portage and LaPorte.
Yeah.
They still find a way, and that's all that matters is they do win those close games. And I have a great feeling this game will be very close as well. Both teams have won close games.
And the Providence Catholic lost. They lost by 7. So it's, they could very well be 4-1.
Michigan City
as well has some close losses.
The Warsaw loss is obviously one, and both teams have won close games. Michigan City against Lafayette Jefferson.
And again, it was 3-0 Maryville in the fourth quarter.
Yeah,
for City and them. So
it's going to be a great game, and I'm very excited to see how this one plays. I know a great crowd will be there. Once again, one of our game nights built by Von Tobel. It will be a video broadcast. Now our second game night built by Von Tobel. This one a video broadcast as well. The Little Red Devils going to Hobart. Going to be a great game just because these are two teams that they like to beat each other.
Blue Bloods.
Yeah, there
Blue
you go.
Bloods,
I mean,
man.
teams that have really controlled, high school football for many, many years. Obviously, Lowell's trying to get back. Very tough start to the year. Colton Scott seems to be back and healthy for them. Had a big game against Highland. For Hobart, obviously our number 5 team in our RSN rankings, 4-1 after a really resilient effort win against Andrain. I'm curious to see how they come out just because I had to take a lot out of them. But, we'll see what happens here. But we have 2 running backs that can really take over this game.
2 juniors.
Yep, 2 juniors.
If I had a tally for how many times I mentioned a junior,
we'll talk about a junior next game too. Don't worry.
Exactly, would be off the page by now. But I think it's going to be a lot of handoffs, got a lot of old school football here.
Okay.
Again, mentioning Lowell and Hobart, you can't tell the story of Northwest Indiana football without mentioning these 2 programs.
Yeah.
So that alone makes this game so much fun. I think again, Lowell 2-3, 1-2 in the conference. I don't think that matters. I think this game will be a dogfight as they always are. Hobart, I believe, had Lowell's number over a few years, and I think that's going to be the case again. I think their run game is a little bit better, and I think that's what they're going to rely on this week. Of course, you could always turn to the pass game, which I think also kind of trumps Lowell's. That Lowell is mainly they're just running the ball.
Yeah.
So it's I think Hobart has that extra element that kind of sets them over the top. So I will go Hobart. I'll go Hobart by 10. In this one.
All right. So far you've got 2 road teams and 2 home teams. Now we'll go
tiebreaker.
Yeah. But once again, Lowell and Hobart game night built by Von Tobel, video broadcast, and you can view that on our website, regionsports.com, Facebook and YouTube page as well. Our final game night built by Von Tobel. This is going to be an audio only broadcast and definitely our game of the week, maybe game of the year. Number 2 Valpo goes in the Crown Point against the number 1 Bulldogs. Kind of highlighted this one. It's really the DAC championship for Valpo. Undefeated in the conference for Crown Point. Undefeated in the conference as well. Crown Point really hasn't faced much adversity this year. I mean, that's just telling how dominant they are. Valpo, they have because they lost to Penn, and they found a way to bounce back and win 4 in a row. I really don't know how to. I mean, we can sell this as Clash of the Titans. The 2 best teams in the area. It's 1A, 1B.
Goliath versus Goliath.
You've got, a big-time running back at Valpo and, of course, a big-time quarterback at Crown Point. You have a defense in Crown Point that really doesn't let anyone do much on them.
No.
And a Valpo offense that scores a lot on opponents. When we talked about Maryville and Crown Point, that was the big thing with Dante Pope and J.Q. Johnson. 2 guys who high-energy, high-level players, and they got shut down at Crown Point. So is that going to happen again at Valpo with guys like Davis, Clark, Bradney? Is that going to Stokes? Is that going to happen again? Or, 2 head coaches that really know what they're doing? Is Marshall going to get those guys ready for what is, in my opinion, the game of the year?
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's hard to believe that this game will be a blowout. At least get away from any team early. Knock on wood. I'm knocking on wood all these next few days. But it's Yeah, I think these are two well-coached teams that they know what they're getting into. I think this is a game that they've had circled both squads for weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Look, you hate looking ahead, but this is for the conference championship, and you want to crown yourself as the king in the area's best conference. And yeah, it's tough to pick a winner. If this game was at Valpo, I might be going with them. But Crown Point, I think it's again. I'm so impressed with Noah Ehrlich, another junior quarterback, and I kind of mentioned it with Johnny Sorensen of Hobart, another transfer guy. When you have a leader at quarterback, I brought this up in our rankings. There's kind of things you want to look for in somebody on a successful offense who's playing quarterback. You hope it's somebody that has been with the system for, I'd say, probably 4 years since you were a freshman or playing in 8th grade, 7th grade, just knowing what you're getting into, knowing what the coaching staff and the playbook and all that stuff, what is expected of you, and then kind of knowing your guys. You want, as a quarterback, you kind of want to be familiarized with the guys that are protecting you, all day, and who you're throwing to and who you're handing the ball off, and again, also with the coaches, kind of familiarizing yourself with the people you're going to be around with the most. And Noah Ehrlich, similar to Sorensen, he's been there for an off season and a couple games, and he's looked like he's been there his whole life. So it's I think he's probably the best quarterback in the area, and he's only a junior. I'm putting it with what he's been doing with this offense. He put up 250 yards last week and 4 touchdowns and a half. So he's the X factor. Again, we keep bringing him up, every week, but they have just so many weapons. We talk about Nick Soley 1 week, Larry Ellison another, and then we bring up Jones this week. So they're sharing the love, and the relationship's obviously there with Ehrlich and his guys, and it's impressive what he's done. But Valpo, again, it's a big statement game. This could honestly be a game between two potential state champions or semi-state. I think Valpo's floor, I don't want to put this target on them, but I think their floor is probably a sectional championship. Crown Point, I don't know what their draw is, but I know Lafayette Jefferson, the team that they lost to last year, is probably not the team that they lost to not the same team that they lost to last year. And I think Crown Point's floor is probably a sectional championship.
Honestly, I would say regional at this point. The way they're playing.
The way they're playing, this team could be better than the team that went undefeated last year as well. So, you don't want to paint that target on these teams, but it shows how great this game is going to be and how rare we see a 1v2 of this caliber. So
no one wants that target, but when you're that good,
it comes with it. It comes.
You can't get rid of it. It's gonna happen.
It's inevitable. And for my pick, I'm gonna go.
Okay.
Oh man.
Does our number one team stay number one, or do we have a new number one team this week or next week?
I think they stay number one.
All right, Crown Point with the win. What's the score?
I'm gonna say Crown Point by 7.
All right.
I think it's a close game. I think again, it's not going to be a blowout. It's not going to be a 10-3 game. It's going to be I'd say 20s, kind of similar to what I said with games in the past. And I think it's well coached. I don't think a team's gonna. They know what they're getting into, and I don't think a team's going to lay down and suffer a blowout in the biggest game of the year. So.
Yeah. Once again, we have 3 game nights built by Von Tobel. Of course, one we just talked about, Valpo at Crown Point, audio only. Lowell at Hobart, that will be a video one, and Michigan City at Lake Central, that will be video as well. Once again, these are game nights built by Von Tobel, and you can view them on our website, regionsports.com, and of course our YouTube and Facebook page. Mike, anything else to add before we close out the show?
Yeah, another week in the books, man. I keep saying this, man. It's flying by quick as always, and it's fun doing this with you again. It's been cool riding off your coattails, and yeah, again, a lot of great games this week. It's awesome what football does, brings people together, allows us to talk about the game like this, and let's live it up. Let's have some fun, and let's go 5-0 this week. How about
Absolutely. Well, a big thank you to our executive producer, Chris Ramirez, our operations manager, Rich Castillo, our coordinating producer, Claude Martinez, of course, our producer on today's show, Zach Zanelli, my co-host, Mike Dewan. I'm Jack Theo, but thank you all for tuning in to Region Football Weekly and our Centier Bank Studios here on the Region Sports Network, the only game in town.